So, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Or no. That was just a test. We will start over. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm much better as well. So, welcome to another lecture. Our friend Rafa will bring a little bit about Mary and the Divine Family to us today. But before we start, Mary will do our initial prayer and the reading. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm going to start reading a passage from Happy Life from Divaldo Pereira Franco by the Spirit Joana de Anjos. Set aside some time to appreciate beauty. Wake up early to see the sunrise and value the force of its light. Walk through the woods quietly, breathing in the air of nature. Contemplate the starry night and ask silent questions. Contemplate a rose as it opens in full bloom. Stops beside an innocent child. Walk with a tranquil old person. Open yourself to the beauty that is in everything to adorn yourself with it. So let's close our eyes and connect with the energy, with our mentors from TSS. And let's just thank for the opportunity of being here to listen to the words from Rafael. And let's pay attention to these words and let's learn something new today. Thank you, and so be it. Rafa.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So I came here today, and this topic, it's something that makes me reflect a lot. And it's amazing when you're preparing for a lecture and you're studying and you receive the necessary inspiration, that everything seems to connect. All the pieces, everything that you live in your life, all the days of that week, they seem to teach you something, to open your eyes for what do you normally take for granted. So I came here today. This is my first time in this place, and I feel really good here. It's a wonderful place, and it's directly related to what I'm going to talk about, or I'm already talking about, family, and in this context of family, I will talk a little bit about the mother of us all, the mother of Jesus, Mary. And I think that it's something so amazing that we completely changed the neighborhood, we changed the building, and we are here. And it's still the same house. It is still the same family. And to me, it's hard to put in words, but it's extremely special, the capacity that we have as human beings to create this, to come together and make something concrete out of this expansion of our hearts. And we create homes, we create families. Perhaps it touched me more because the month of May was very important for me because I went back home, back in Brazil after a long time, to celebrate my grandma's birthday. She's turning 100. Well, she turned 100. And people ask me, because she doesn't have any problem. She doesn't have any memory problem, any cognitive problem. She's perfect. She can tell you stories from before World War II, and she remembers everything. And people ask me, but what did she do? She never worked out one day on her life. She drinks her wine. She's Italian. But what is it that she did all her life? Family devotion. She was devoted to her family since she got married at 15. She never did anything else. And then in this party that we made there was 50 people. So cousins that I hadn't seen in 40 years. And new cousins, because the cousins had kids, and the kids were also my cousins. And so it was amazing. And I was there, since I had been a long time away from the family. I was there looking from above and thinking how amazing that was. This 50 people that came from the love of a couple, that they made the sacrifice to create a family and have kids. I don't have kids, at least not human kids. My house is full of dogs. But it changes your life, right? So you have kids, you accept that from that moment on, your life is going to change forever. And then your kids have kids. And in her case, the kids of the kids have kids. And it creates it populates the earth. And it's everybody together only because they like each other. So, and it's not even just blood ties, but the real family, spiritual ties. And this to me is completely related to Jesus and what he showed us, the way that he brought his gospel and where, because that's all he did, is he creates a huge family, or he showed us that we all belong to that family. And most of the time, often, this capacity that we have to expand our heart, that's the terminology that to me makes sense, and involve other people, it's blocked by tiny little things, all coming from the fact that we don't know each other very well. We keep memories from things that we were told, things that people said to us, and it hurt. And we cling to that. We don't let it go away, because we forget that we tell those things as well. And we know that that's not true. When we say it's from our own imperfection, and we want people that we love to forgive us and to please disregard that. Disregard. I was not in a good day, or you said something that hurt me and I hurt you back. We forget that among ourselves. And then we block this capacity to agglomerate people and to expand our family. And when I was there in Brazil, I was, of course, talking to everybody. And there was what I call the Oliveira radio. It is our family. And then you cross the border and you start hearing stories about all the cousins and the families. And there's always, oh, this person told me or did this to me 5 decades ago, 50 years. That person is now 60, and they still have problems between the cousins. And I was looking at that, I was so happy to see everybody that I was able, or I was blessed with the view that was so small. And they could just let that go, because it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't matter. And just enjoy the fact that they are there together, celebrating our matriarch. And that's why I'm happy to be here, because we are able, or we were able, to overlook all that and still work together for the benefit of this house. And I hope that after today, or I can at least influence everybody to think about their families and see how important that is. And the blessing of creating a home, a place, your temple, where it creates a base for everything to grow, for lives to grow out of that, for professionals, for the economy of a country that comes from a family, from two people. Okay. So given that context, I'm going to start talking a little bit about Mary and Jesus, because it's completely, that's how he showed his mission here. And I must say, I delivered variations of this topic several times throughout the years. I always get emotive. Always. It's kind of 100% of the time. Maybe because that touched me very deeply, and or as simple as it's a beautiful story. Mary's story is just a beautiful story. And I'm going to start by the book Boa Nova, where chapter 2, where we see Mary and her cousin Elizabeth. Her cousin comes to visit Mary, and she brings John the Baptist. And John and Jesus, they were not exactly the same age, because John was a little older, but they were cousins, and they were often see each other and talk. I think at this time they were around 10. And then they were out in the field talking. Only them know what they're talking about. And then Elizabeth was talking to Mary, as moms do, talking about their kids, and saying that I think that there's something different about my son. He's always meditating. It is not normal for a child that age to. He doesn't have. What problem could he have that he has to meditate about it, and he's always so serious? It seems that he has the world on his shoulders, and then Mary, hearing that, he says, I feel the same. Imagine that my son brought home the other day criminals from the nearby, so this was close to Nazareth, and he brought criminals to our house, offered them bread, and talked to them about being a good person. Criminals in my house. And when I can't find him, I see him close to the road and talking to strangers. So you're telling me that you're worried about your kid? I'm worried about mine too. At least your kid does not bring criminals to your house. So they were both, they understood that there was something there. They understood that both their kids had this communion with God, as is the term or the expression that they used. And there was something there. But they were moms, they were mothers, and they were very worried about their kids. And then Mary continued what she was saying. She says, imagine the other day, we went to Jerusalem for one of the festivities, on one of the celebrations, and I took Jesus with me, of course. So Joseph, myself, and Jesus. And Jesus ended up debating concepts with the speakers of the temple. And he showed his greater wisdom to them. Hey guys. And so imagine, I'm here talking, of course, I'm nobody, but and it comes one of these kids and he starts debating and creating all this concepts, and we look, where is all this coming from? And it was more or less what happened there. But then we have to remember what was the environment of the time. It wasn't like Canada of today. Judea was at the time was a Roman province, and historically, the Jewish people they were always very proud of their culture and very zealous, and they wanted to protect. Of course, they were enslaved so many times, and they were really worried in protecting their culture. And as a Roman province, they were never completely pacified. There were always crises. And a few years after Jesus' discarnation, there was a war in 78 where the Romans destroyed completely the Jerusalem temple. So it was not an area very peaceful. And Mary and Joseph, they knew about this pride of the Jewish people. And they see that Jesus debating with the very leaders of that culture. And they understood that this kid's going to get in trouble. And then becomes one of the friends of the family, Eleazar, and he comes to talk to Joseph, the man of the house. Man, it's not good. So the speakers are not very happy that we come this kid that knows more than they do. So I'll propose something to you. I'll take care of Jesus. I'll be his mentor, and I'll take him under my wing, and I'll teach him the ways of the temple, so that he doesn't make anybody angry. And then Mary and Joseph went back home, and they're talking what we're going to do with this kid. And then Mary decides, okay, I'm going to take up on the Eleazar's offer, and I'm going to get Jesus' scholarship. Because that was more or less what it meant at that time. It's a scholarship. So then he would learn, he would understand the customs, and he will not angry anybody. And then she makes up her mind, and she comes back home, and Jesus already knows everything. He already knew what she wanted to do. And then he goes to his mom, and he says, "Mom, didn't I already prove to you that I'm already in communion with God? Haven't I already showed you that I'm already with him?" Meaning, what is it that you want me to learn from Jerusalem temple? And she explains that I'm worried. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about your future. And he says, my future is guaranteed. It's guaranteed. And at that time, it comes one of the first times that he shows the importance of a family. Because he decides to go to the next room, talk to his father, and ask permission to work with him in the carpentry, in his workshop. And he spends all his life there until he was in his 30s, when he left to teach the Gospels. So he was, by his action, he was teaching us the priorities of life. It's much more important for me to stay home and work with my father than everything that the Jerusalem temple would have to teach me. So he explains, it shows the importance of a family. And that's how he acts all the time. When he finally leaves his house, so we know more about Jesus in his last 3 years than what we know from when he was a baby until he was 30. That he spent working with his father in his house. He was devoted to his house. And when he finally leaves and he finds Peter and James fishing, he immediately, so according to the Gospel of Luke, he goes to them with friendship. So he hugs them and smiling. He's a very, very happy guy. A very happy guy. And where is it that he starts teaching his gospel? Peter's house, on dinner table. We see that in the Jesus at Home book. That's where he delivered most of his gospel, in a house, in a family. What he did later on the Sermon of the Mount is because he couldn't put everybody inside of a house around the table. But the base of his gospel was created inside of a house, always. And then we think, where was Jesus' church? Where is his temple? In the houses that he visited. Not the houses in the concrete, I'm not talking about walls and a ceiling, but the people, his friends, that he called them his friends. And that's where he created the base for his gospel. That's why he called Simon Peter, the stone, the cornerstone where I'm going to create everything. That's in his house. It's where he developed, he talked about most of his teachings, and that was the first church. It was Peter's house. Where is it that Paul, or Saul of Tarsus, after he changed and he decides to follow the way? At that time they didn't call Christianism yet. Where does he go first? Completely lost and in search of help, in search of mentorship to guide him in this new phase of his life. He goes to Peter's house. In his house where he lived. He goes to his house that was developed as a temple by Peter and Jesus, by a family, by a group of friends. So Jesus never walked away from this concept of family. But then the story continues, and we see just want to find, I think it's chapter 14 from the Gospel. Oh yeah, chapter 14, Gospel according to Spiritism. We'll see who are my mother and who are my brothers. Who is my mother and who are my brothers? So that chapter, it talks about a situation where Jesus was in someone's house, and Mary and the brothers come to call him, to call him out of there. And then Kardec, in the Gospel, he explains about spiritual family. When Jesus asked, who is my mother and who are my brothers? It has nothing to do with him saying that Mary is not his mom. No, Jesus took that opportunity to explain the expansion of family that is not just related to blood, but it's spiritual. And at the same time, we see that it seems that Mary didn't really understand what was Jesus' mission. But it's the other way around. We don't understand Mary. Of course she knew. But we see Jesus as the governor of our planet, or at that time, the Messiah and the guide. To Mary, it was his son. It's her son. It's her son. She gave birth to him. She fed him from her breasts. So it was her son. And she was not there calling him because she didn't believe him. She was there because she was worried. She was worried about her son. And that's the part that we don't understand. She knew about the environment, as I explained before, the situation of that province and the pride of the Jewish people. She was afraid for him. And then we advance a little bit more, of course, and he went with her in the end. So of course, he went with his mom. But then we see further down in the book, Humberto de Campos narrating the scene where Jesus was already nailed to the cross. And Mary was there looking at him. And then we imagine she looking at her son nailed to a cross. And the crucifixion done by the Romans, it was not supposed to be something quick. If you are crucified, you don't die from the nails. They did in a way that it wouldn't kill a person. You die from asphyxiation or blood loss. Asphyxiation because of the way that the lungs are compressed by the position that you are. And if they were specifically merciful, the Romans, they would break someone's legs, because then you cannot support yourself and you die faster in the cross. They did not do that with Jesus. So he stayed there for some time. And that's why he had time enough to talk to the other two crucified ones. And Mary was there. And of course, at that time, the apostles disappeared. They were all afraid, including Peter. And Humberto de Campos explains to us, but he doesn't have to explain. I think we can all understand that the suffering that she was going through, looking at her son there. And at that time, she has a little bit of doubt, and she starts thinking, what is it that... So Jesus did all this. He was the personification of love to everybody. How can God allow him to go through such suffering momentarily? Then right after that, she thinks to herself, God, make me your slave. Let it be your will, because I trust you. So now you imagine, she was there on that indescribable suffering, and she still, after her momentary doubt, she conquers. She makes her faith concrete, and she says, God, I trust you. Even with this suffering that I'm seeing from my son, I trust in your will, and I deliver myself to you. And of course, Jesus was awake, and he was feeling that. And at that moment, John, the John that wrote the gospel, he comes. The only one from the male apostles that did not run away. And he came back and he stayed with Mary. And Jesus looked at both of them from the cross. And he says, Mother, this is your son. And he looks at John and says, Son, this is your mother. So this is Jesus introducing to the world and to Mary that she was not just his mother, it's mother of us all. Because her love was just too big. He was telling her, that's why you were chosen, because your love is it can involve the entire planet. So I know you're going to miss me, both of you, but you have each other. You have each other. The family is not broken. The family has to be expanded. And then that's an incredible lesson from Jesus from the cross. And after he finally discarnated and they took away his body, Mary went to Bethany to stay with family members. And she stayed there for a few years, but she was the feeling of missing her son kept increasing. She was always reliving the time that they spent in the small house of Nazareth, him working with his dad in the workshop. And when she would see him preaching the gospel and helping people. And she lived in those memories. And of course, she felt pain. And her pain, it was increased a little by looking at Jesus' disciples starting to fight for aristocracy. I was closer to Jesus by blood, so then I should be your leader. Something related to that. Right away, immediately, they wanted to create some sort of authority in Christianism. And she looked at that and she knew that that's not my son. That's not what he taught. That's not what he lived for. And soon after that, John comes back. John comes back and he apologized. I'm sorry, Mary, that I left you here for a few years, but that's because I was trying to find a home for us. I was trying to find a place for us to live together as a family. And I found one in the south of Ephesus. I found a small house that was donated to me by a rich person that has converted to Christianism. It has listened to Jesus. And that person donated me a small house. And we can live there, close to the sea, the Mediterranean Sea. And of course, Mary was very happy. And they moved together to that house. And in Ephesus at that time, the Christian community was growing. After the gospel came out of the shell, after it was preached, it continues to spread throughout the world. So at that time, the Christian community was increasing, and they knew that Mary was living there close to them. So they start going to see her, to ask for blessings and to talk to her. So Jesus' mother is living here. And then they start making huge lines and to go to the small house and talk even after midnight and keep talking about it. So John would develop the more complicated topics, concepts about the gospel. And Mary was just, she loved everybody. She would bless everybody. And of course, heal. She started healing people, not because she wanted to. It was not that she didn't want to, but it wasn't just natural for someone that got close to her love. And they lived their lives for years and years. Every day, people coming in search of consolation. Every night, looking for, they would call the Saint Mother. She was mother of everybody there. And everybody would call her mother. But nobody stopped to think how she was feeling. They would go there to seek consolation, but not to console. And as a mother, she would hide her pain to ease the pain of her children. And she, of course, every night she would remember Jesus and still missing him, of course, his son. Until one night when a beggar comes, a traveler, and comes to see her when she was alone. And he comes and say, mother, they would all call her mother, I'm coming to just make you company. And he came in and started talking to her and offer her consolation for the first time. And she did that. Here it comes. That traveler could feel her pain. And it was the first time that offered her love instead of coming searching for it. And when he started talking about the blessings that would await for her in the kingdom of the Lord, because, thank you, because of everything that she was, and she started feeling, but I know this voice. I know this voice. And I'll get there. At that moment, he shows his hands, and she sees the wounds. Oh my God. And he says, Mom, I come to pick you up. I came to take you with me. It's the will of the Lord that in his kingdom, you will be the queen. And then, of course, she got incredibly happy. It's her son that came to pick her up. This was Jesus. He comes to pick her mom, his mom. And of course, at that moment, she disconnects. She leaves her body. And she goes with him. But before she goes to where she was supposed to go, I have no idea where it is. I can tell you there's not a colony close by. Before she would go there, she asks to stop in all the places where the Christians were waiting for punishment. And she talks to every single one of them, every single one, bringing them hope and giving them strength to go through whatever hardships they would have to. And they all felt happy without even understanding why. They were feeling happy in those cells, dark cells, among that suffering. And from that moment, she became the mother of us all. And that's why today, oh my God, she is still the mom that takes care of our planet. So when we think that everything is it's a mess and we don't know where it's going and we don't understand what's happening to our world, we have to remember that our world has a governor, but it also has a mom. All of us. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry. Seems that everybody today will have free sinuses.
Thanks.
So, is there any comment or any questions? Internet?
I just have a question. When you mentioned that Jesus went to the temple and he was a kid, do we know how old he was?
It was around 10 years old.
10 years. Just curious.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make a difference.
I think probably it's a little bit older because they get the bar mitzvah, right? That it's around.
I'm not sure if it was on the. I know it was a festivity, but Humberto Campos doesn't mention which festivity, and I could not find in the Bible as
Well,
well.
my point is like for him to talk in the synagogue, he has to pass to the bar mitzvah. So it has to be after the bar mitzvah.
Oh, otherwise he's not allowed to come.
No.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was allowed because
Yeah.
everybody was.
But it's like,
Yeah, that's why they were so worried about him.
yes. After the bar mitzvah, the kid became one of the congregation,
Mm.
right?
He becomes a man who can
Yeah.
speak for
Yeah.
himself.
Yes.
Anything else, guys? No, they're all good. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Rafa. I think that was pretty illustrating for all of us and a lot of emotions. So thank you.
Inspirational.
Inspirational, yeah. So thank you everyone for watching on the internet, and we will get prepared for our passes here.